Welcome to the Paranormal Stakeout radio TV show with Larry Lawson. As a former career law enforcement officer and law enforcement educator, Larry focuses on the use of tried and true law enforcement investigative techniques in conducting paranormal investigations. Despite his experience and training, Larry also keeps an open mind to discussions on topics that deal with evidence that are not quite as physical in nature. Paranormal Stakeout guests are professionals in the field of the paranormal and parapsychology, conducting the investigations and research needed to further the cause of paranormal study. Larry advocates an agenda of standardization of structure and training in the field of paranormal investigation and research for the purpose of one day being able to produce the evidence needed to convince a jury of the existence of the paranormal. Whether it is ghosts, UFOs, unsolved mysteries, hauntings or cryptids, no topic is beyond the investigative reach of Larry Lawson and the Paranormal Stakeout radio TV show team. Now, here is the host of the Paranormal Stakeout radio TV show, Larry Lawson.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Paranormal Stakeout. I'm your host, Larry Lawson, coming to you from beautiful Vero Beach, Florida, where the sun always shines and the paranormal is always active. So welcome to the show tonight. Got a great guest. I think you're going to really enjoy it. But like I always try to do, and I've announced it on the show before, I'd like to remind everybody that you can send me messages, send me questions that we're going to answer right here on the show. And you can get a hold of me at ghostguy@paranormalstakeout.org. That's ghostguy@paranormalstakeout.org. And you can send me questions that you'd like to maybe get some answers on in the paranormal. If I don't know the answer, I will find it for you. Or you might have a thought, a question, or some other issue you'd like to bring up regarding the paranormal. Either way, we want to hear from you. So get a hold of me at ghostguy@paranormalstakeout.com. If you want to check out what we do down here in Florida with the Florida Bureau of Paranormal Investigation and Indian River Hauntings, you can check us out on our website at paranormalfbi.com and indianriverhauntings.com. Now, I do have a question. We had a question come in that I'd like to bring up. Jill in Port St. Lucie, Florida, actually sent this question in. What is the difference between residential hauntings and intelligent hauntings? And that's a question that comes up a lot in our field. And sentient and non-sentient hauntings is another way to look at it. Essentially, an intelligent haunt is if you're conducting an investigation and, for example, you use an EVP, an electronic voice phenomenon. That's where you would hear the radio, or you'd get the voice on a recorder, but you can't hear it. You ask a question and you get an answer right back. What's your name? Billy. We consider that an intelligent haunt because whatever it is responding back to you in real time. A residual haunt tends to be something that is on a loop. It's like seeing a ghost or a picture of a lady, a ghost of a lady walking from one side of the room to another. And it comes up in that same form 3 or 4 times a year. You can't get its attention. It doesn't pay attention to you. It's like it's on a loop, a video loop. We call it a residual haunt, as if the energy is being trapped and showing itself once in a while. Simple explanation, but I hope that does answer your question, Jill. Thank you very much for sending that in. Now for our guest tonight, Mr. Dan DUCHENEAUX, who is the leader of an organization out of Ottawa, Canada called G.H.O.S.T, Ghost Hunters of Scientific Truth. Dan has been in this business for quite a while. He's had many unexplained experiences as a teen and as an adult, and that led him to start studying the different philosophies and belief systems, as well as religious perspectives, way back in '97. And this led to his awakening into the paranormal and led to him studying it. He began to experiment with different practices such as seance, talking boards, remote writing, starting in 2002. And he eventually grew to the point where he created the organization called G.H.O.S.T. And he's been doing it ever since. He's had a tremendous amount of experience and a lot of interesting stories. So I'd like to welcome Dan DUCHENEAUX of G.H.O.S.T to the show. Dan, thanks for joining us tonight, bud.
Great. Thanks for having me, Larry.
So is the
Once again,
snow? There you
not the
go.
first time, but once again.
That's has the snow finally left in Ottawa?
Oh, yes, it has. It's a nice green grass right now. Mind you,
Excellent.
we've had rain for the past month nonstop,
Oh, okay. Well,
which is
we
better than
finally,
snow. It's better than snow.
yeah, much better. That's why I live in Florida. Dan, Ghost. The title of your organization really intrigues me. Ghost Hunters of Scientific Truth. What motivated you to come up with that name? I want to ask you that real quick before we get into other things.
Well, it's kind of weird, Larry. I was actually just looking for something that would rhyme with ghost because that's what we do. We hunt ghosts or spirits or entities or
Mhm.
whatever it is. So I was looking for something to rhyme with something that would be ghost, and I went ghost, and I went hunters, Ottawa, scientific truth, and it just came up that way, and then it caught and it stayed, and that was back in 2010. So I remember just standing at the counter when I lived in Metcalf and just trying to figure out how am I going to call this team, and that's how it came out. It was just I guess you call it a pseudonym or an abbreviation for ghost, and I came up with Ghost Hunters of Ottawa for Scientific Truth.
Okay, well, that's interesting because you know me, I'm very much into the collection of evidence in a scientific fashion. So that kind of
Mhm.
intrigued me. Tell us, Dan, how did you get into this business? You talk about having experiences as a child, teenager, and as an adult. How did all that come together to bring you to this point in your career of paranormal research?
Well, I mean, like I said, I had weird experiences when I was a kid. Anyways, we're not going to get into details. A lot of weird stuff I couldn't explain. And I lived as an adult. I rented this house in Nepean, Ontario. This was a house that was owned by a Haitian couple. Long story short, they had a nanny that babysat the kids. The nanny stayed in the basement. The nanny was a voodoo practitioner, and so on and so on and so on.
Mm,
A lot of weird stuff that was happening in this house. But I'm talking like apparitions, animals acting weird, not wanting to go in the basement, and stuff. I actually had like a poltergeist activity where stuff actually flew off a shelf. And I'm not saying like just fell off a shelf, it flew off like 20 feet across the living room and hit the opposing wall. And after all these experiences, I said, you know what? After living in this house, I said, I need to look into this further. And like I said, I was playing around with Ouija boards, seances, and a lot of the more spiritual side of things, but I wanted hard, concrete evidence. And I knew I had to take more of a scientific approach. And that's when I founded Ghost in 2010, based on those principles.
okay. This house, how long did you live in this house?
Probably about a couple of years, maybe a year or two, and eventually I moved out, moved in with my present wife right now, and I don't think I moved out because of the activity. I just moved out. It was just too expensive renting a house, and eventually I bought a house. But yeah, those experiences in that place really kind of threw me for a loop, and that's where I just kind of got into it.
Okay, well, a lot of the work I did in law enforcement was dealing with cults and deviant groups, and you mentioned voodoo in there. Was the previous owner from one of the Caribbean islands, or
Well,
do you know?
the couple I rented a house from were Haitian. Oh, hello.
Okay,
Oh, I
okay,
lost this. Hold on. Oh, okay. I lost my screen there for a second.
okay.
It
Sorry.
went dormant. I couldn't see. I thought maybe we got off. No, the couple that I rented a house from was Haitian, and they had a nanny that babysat the kids. And when I was starting to get these weird things happening in the house, I contacted my landlord, Thomas, and I said, "Listen, I know you've lived in this house, you raised your kids here, and now you're renting it. But I said, have you ever had like, some weird things happening?" And he said, "Well, yeah, the kids used to stay in the basement. They said there was some weird things going on, and of course they all had their, I guess imaginary friends, ghosts in the closets or monsters in the closets type thing." And I told him about my experiences, and he said, "I'm not surprised," because he said the nanny that used to babysit the kids was a voodoo practitioner, and she used to do a lot of stuff in the basement. So I'm assuming maybe that's what might have caused a lot of the activity or maybe
Mm.
promoting the activity in this house.
Interesting, because a lot of folks don't, especially those that tend to get into this field, don't really understand the many different religious beliefs out there that have different types of spiritual entities and purposes for those spiritual entities, which leads me to my next question. You talk about you studied different religious belief systems in your earlier days. Was there a particular religious belief or direction that you found connected you more to the paranormal than the other, if that makes sense?
Yes, there was. I mean, I studied Buddhism, a lot of those types of. I mean, I was born Christian, born Catholic. I was baptized and all that stuff, but eventually that just it was where it just wasn't doing it for me. I studied Buddhism because I did a lot of martial arts through my years, and then I got into more of the Native American kind of belief systems, and eventually got into paganism, which is, I know it's very frowned upon, but that is now my basic belief system. Is a belief in nature, natural energies, positive, negatives, negative energies, and that's what I'm into now. And that's how
Mhm.
it kind of spurred on. That's what actually made me realize that there's a negative and a positive. There's good energies, there's bad energies. We can call them ghosts, entities, spirits, whatever you want to call them. But is what I believe in now, and that's what supports my belief in the paranormal. Is I do know there is something there. I just can't explain it, and that's what I'm trying to find out.
Did you find a common thread through many of these religious beliefs? Um,
Yeah,
if that
yeah, I think so. I think the common thread is that most religions believe that there's some kind of afterlife. There's some kind of a superpower or something that's bigger than us. I think most religions, whether you want to call it Catholic, a Muslim, a Jewish, or any kind of other religions, I think the common thread is that we all believe that there's something that happens to us after we pass away. Either it's a spirit, or we can go to heaven or we can go to hell. I think that's the common thread. We all have the belief that there is the possibility of having something after our physical body dies.
which leads to another question. I don't want to. I'm actually wanting to do that in our next segment, but what do you think a ghost is, Dan?
Oh,
What do you
geez,
think?
Larry, I don't know. I don't think we know what it is, and I think that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to find out what it is, what can we do to capture it, what kind of methods can we use. I mean, everybody says what we do is pseudoscience, right? Because we don't know what a ghost is, we don't know what a spirit is, we don't know what kind of energy it is, how we can capture it. And I think for me, they have all these gadgets, EMF meters and this and that and all the gadgets. But I think for me, it's from what happened in my house, and unfortunately I didn't have a video camera going at the time, is video evidence and audio evidence is probably the best two things. Because if something levitates, something flies off a shelf, that defies the laws of physics. If you have three people talking in a room and there's a fourth voice on a recorder, that's evidence,
Mhm.
especially if you have like a controlled environment. So I think that's the way to go. It's that's the scientific approach.
Do you think we're ever going to get to the point where we're going to be able to scientifically prove this?
No, no,
No,
unfortunately, I don't. It's weird. I mean, like I said, it's pseudoscience. Um, it's. I hope that one day we can prove it, but I'm not sure in my lifetime if we're ever going to get to it. I mean, it's fun to try, and it's great when you find great evidence, but I don't really think we'll ever find the truth
well,
unless you can die and come back and tell everybody about it.
well, when we come back after this next break, we're going to talk a little bit more about how you think we might get there. So, folks, stay with us. I'm with Dan DUCHENEAUX from G.H.O.S.T, Ottawa, Canada. Be back after this break.
From the Canada-US border in the southern region of Niagara, traveling north in Ontario's Golden Horseshoe, then east and west of the Greater Toronto Area, there is growing awareness and excitement as more and more people are starting their day with Beautiful Mind coffee, the delicious healthy coffee that your brain will love. Made with ethically sourced 100% Arabica coffee, Beautiful Mind coffee is roasted and ground in small batches to ensure each bag contains a wonderful full-bodied artisan coffee. Scientifically formulated, Beautiful Mind coffee is the only coffee blend that contains 3 herbal ingredients found to aid in boosting your daily mental clarity and focus. Maca root powder, green tea extract, and American ginseng have been selected for their ability to support good brain health. Taking care of your brain's health now can help delay or prevent the onset of cognitive dysfunction, including dementia, Alzheimer's, and more general memory loss as you get older, just by enjoying the delicious flavor of our roasted coffee and herbal ingredients found exclusively in Beautiful Mind Coffee. Beautiful Mind Coffee is now available at Amazon.ca and soon to be available in selected locations near you. In Hamilton, Ontario, Beautiful Mind Coffee is now available at Livelong Wellness Clinic, located at 189 Houston Street South. Beautiful Mind Coffee can be ordered by telephone by calling 416-436-3675 or 905-536-2450. Why have a good cup of coffee when you can have a great cup of Beautiful Mind Coffee that's good for your brain? For more information on Beautiful Mind Coffee, visit us online at www.beautifulmindcoffee.ca.
And we are back on
We are
Paranormal
back.
Stakeout with my guest tonight, Dan DUCHENEAUX of Ghost Hunters of Ottawa for Scientific Truth. I'm going to put you on the spot because I want to know, Dan. Oh, yes,
no,
yes.
you
I want to
can't.
know, Dan.
You cannot put me on the spot.
I want to know, what is your philosophy? I know we can both agree. Nobody truly
Yeah.
knows what this phenomenon is.
No.
We can agree on that. But do you have a philosophy? Do you have a belief? And what is that?
I got so many different theories, Larry. It's funny. I mean, if you look at it from a more spiritual perspective, I believe that maybe, life or what we live here, we're not we're spiritual beings experiencing a physical existence. If you get what I mean,
I do.
it's not the opposite. And I think after one of my theories or philosophies is that potentially the body dies. It's like a car. Once we pass away, the body wears out, but our spirit is still young. It's still who we are. It's the essence of what we are. So eventually we will reincarnate and potentially
Ah,
get into another body and live a whole other life, and actually a whole different, a whole bunch of different experiences, and learn a whole bunch of different lessons. That's one of my philosophies. I think that's a possibility. Now, if you look more of a scientific approach, I also have the idea that maybe we're just a physical organism, and then once this physical body is gone, that's it. It ends. But
oh,
that contradicts what I've
sad
found, the
thought.
evidence. Yeah, I know that's a bad one. I don't like that one. But it contradicts the evidence that I've found. I know that there's something after. My gut feeling tells me that there's something after. There's got to be.
Well, let me run this by. First of all, I don't disagree with you on your first take, and that tends to be a kind of a Buddhist direction
Hmm.
with the
Yeah, exactly.
reincarnation. What are your thoughts on almost like a collective hive type mind, where we're all a part of something else in another dimension?
You mean like a whole consciousness? Everything
Hmm.
is like a big whole. I believe in that as well. I think we are part of a whole. If you look at and my belief system, if you look at paganism and my belief system, Native American belief systems, is that everything recycles.
Hmm.
Every year we go through the same thing. It's things die in the fall, and then there's winter. Trees die, the grass goes dead, everything goes dead. But in the spring, it's all rejuvenated again. So
Hmm.
that's kind of like the process of reincarnation. It's like a process that keeps going and going over and over and over again.
Are you? Do you follow any of the Wiccan beliefs?
No, not really. Not really.
Okay.
I mean, I don't. It's along those lines, but more of a soul practitioner type thing. So I don't. I'm
Right.
not into the Wiccan belief. Is more of a religious. It's more of a religion as opposed to a
Hmm.
belief system. So I'm kind of like a mix of my Native American side. I'm a little bit Irish, a little bit Scottish. So it's a combination of everything.
Okay. Could it be us? Could you mentioned a second ago, like Is it possible we're just an organism that dies and that's where it ends? As sad as that is, but
Mm,
could we be the reason that we're experiencing evidence? And where I'm coming from here
mhm,
is that a lot of times you'll hear that we only use 20% of our brain. Well, the
mhm.
truth of the matter is, I believe we use 80% of or 100% of our brain. We only know what 20% of it does. So that leaves
Mhm. It's a good
80% of
point.
it that has not been discovered yet. Could we be creating this evidence with that untapped power we have in our brain? Is that possible? Sad
I
as it
think it
may be.
I think it's possible because I've done investigations where, especially in residential cases, where, in my opinion, a lot of the stuff that was going on was just people manifesting their own kind of activity and their
Mhm.
own, ghosts, entities, whatever you want to call them. And I think that's definitely a possibility. I think our mind is so powerful. I think it's much more powerful than we think. And I think it can manifest a lot of different things. And we may think of it as supernatural, but it's just our mind. And I think as paranormal investigators, I think our mind is our greatest enemy sometimes. It can play tricks on us. And we'll fall for it. So no, I totally believe that that's a possibility that we may manifest our own activity and our own hauntings.
Well, are you familiar with the Philip experiment done up in your neck of the woods? I believe
Yes,
that's
we
a good example of that.
talked about that for a while,
Yeah,
a couple of times.
that's right. We did it. We did, and in fact, we did a. It was with an individual who's fairly well known. I won't mention his name here out of respect, but he came down, was part of an event that we did in Fellsmere,
Hmm.
and he conducted an experiment with a group of people in a room, and had them think of a word,
Yeah,
and that word was banana.
banana.
And banana. And he told the group in the room, smell it, feel it, think about it for I think 3 minutes. And then they finished and everybody went quiet. They turned on a couple recorders, and a couple of my own folks on my own team that were in there actually heard on the recording the word banana. So it could only be one of two things. They either somehow, well, it could be three things. They could have imagined they heard it, but two different people as well as others in the room heard it. So could it be the other side playing, or was it the power of their own brain? And I think you're right. As paranormal investigators, we can fool ourselves, but we also have to have an open enough mind to follow the evidence where it leads us.
Exactly,
So,
exactly. But I think as investigators, we need to look at all avenues, right? Is it us? Is it something supernatural? Is it we need to be
it's a
have an open mind,
combination. It's a
combination of everything,
combination.
combination of
Sure.
everything. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and
exactly.
that's kind of where I'm at. I'm feeling like there's sometimes we do it to ourselves just because of the untapped power of our own brain. But
Hmm.
also I think the other side uses that as an avenue to come in once in a while either. That's my personal opinion. Now,
Yeah,
we talked about Buddhism a couple seconds ago, and
yep.
it's the reincarnation end of it. Did I hear you right when you said you felt that the purpose was to come back and relearn a lesson until we get it right? Is that kind of how I heard
Hmm.
that?
Hmm. 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 Like the spirit comes back in a physical body to either, whatever higher force is out there. And I do believe there is a higher force out there.
Hmm.
And I think that higher force eventually determines that, okay, you lived a life and you did so many bad things, so many good things, and there's so many lessons that you still need to learn. So we're going to
Hmm.
send you back in a different physical body, and to experience different things in your life. Let's say, for example, let's say you're a human being and you're an animal abuser. Let's say, and in your next life, you'll come back as an animal to experience what that side of the spectrum is,
Hmm.
so you learn that lesson. So I think that's a possibility. We just, because we're spiritual beings, right? We have energy, and we know that energy cannot be, you can't get rid of energy.
You
That
can't
was
destroy
Einstein.
it.
I
You can't.
think you
Yeah.
can't destroy it. It's got to go somewhere. So I think it
Hmm.
gets reincarnated, refurbished like everything else does, the trees and everything else. Every year you got the seasons. And I guess even in Florida, even if you don't get snow, you still get the seasons. There's a cycle
Yeah,
that goes
sort
on,
of.
sort of. Well,
Sort of.
you just don't get as much snow as we do.
Yeah, that's
But I
exactly
do
right.
believe there is a recycling that goes on. That's probably my most deep kind of theory around what happens to us. But again, can we prove it? That's the problem.
How do you have any thoughts on how we're ever going to be able to prove it?
No, I don't think we'll ever will, Larry. It's fun trying, and when we capture evidence and we know, especially if you look at it from a scientific approach where you have controlled environments and you're making sure, because I think any place you investigate, that place is your laboratory, right?
Mhm.
Investigate a house, investigate a historical location, this is your laboratory. So when you have controlled environments like that and you do experiments, EVPs, or you have videos going and stuff that happens outside of the normal laws of physics, you have to wonder what's going on. Like there's got to be something. There's got to be something. Can we prove it? Is it an actual fact that there is life after death? We don't know. But it just proves that, and we say paranormal is something we can't explain via scientific means. So when we capture something and it's not explainable via, the laws of physics, it's paranormal. But what is it? Is it an entity, a ghost, a spirit? We don't know.
Then let's take it a step further. Let's talk about psychics and mediums for a minute. I had a tough time for many years with psychics and mediums. As a detective that worked homicides, I
Yeah.
would work a case and I would literally get calls from people saying the body's here, I see it, or they somehow got a feeling. Never ever panned out. In recent times, I've had my opinion has changed based upon personal experiences. I'll just put it that way. But mediums never get the same story. First of all, what are your thoughts on psychics and mediums, especially in the paranormal research reign? And then why can't they all tell the same story? Why can't they all present the same set of facts? Any thoughts?
Well, maybe they're just getting different signals. And I mean, we know through the years, through the 20s, and there was a lot of charlatans, a lot of scams going on. I think today that's still going on today. And I think that's where the problem is. I do believe that certain people, I mean, I do know certain mediums and psychics that have been very accurate. They're they're not the types that would do a scam or fake stuff. But I think there is a negative stigma attached to it. Because I mean, it's hard to validate a psychic medium's experiences unless you can really
No
back
doubt.
it up with evidence.
Historical evidence, some sort of historical, right? Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think your point's well taken. The one thing I found is, and it goes back to the imperfection of it all, basically the imperfection of us, our physical being. They don't get the same story because they all interpret it differently. They
Mhm.
get information, and through whatever filters they have, they interpret it differently.
Yeah.
And I also seem to think too that while there are charlatans out there, we must be aware of them. I think there's probably as many folks out there that are well-meaning,
Mhm.
perhaps think they have a gift that they really don't have, or
Yeah.
maybe don't have it as developed. Whatever, we do have to be careful, but I do find that they do present a value to
Mhm.
the research field, but I don't know that we'll ever be able to prove it. And if you talk to a true medium, they'll tell you you're never going to be able to quantify it ever.
No, that's the
So
problem. That's the problem.
yeah,
But you got to be careful. I've had my own experiences. When you get your intuition, you're at an investigation, you feel something, you see
yeah,
something, you get a hunch. I've
yeah,
actually had hunches like I'm not going to call myself a psychic or medium because I'm more of a scientific kind of person. But anyways, I've had hunches like that, but these hunches have been proven with actual audio evidence where it's
yeah,
been proven. Like, you see something and it's caught on audio and it's there and it's like, yeah,
yep.
it did happen. So it's a
And
possibility. It's a possibility that,
gut
yes.
instinct as a cop. I've been gone to a call that said back off for a couple of minutes
Yeah,
until your backup gets there. Speaking of backing off, we're ready to take our next break, so we're going to put it on hold.
sounds
Got
good.
some more great questions, folks. Stay with us. We'll be back in just a few minutes with my guest, Dan DUCHENEAUX. This is Paranormal Stakeout. See you in a couple.
So I was watching the X Zone TV channel last night when I was abducted by aliens, and they kept repeating to me over and over again, simultv.com, simultv.com.
What's simultv.com?
That's what I asked them. They had it written on the side of their UFO.
How do you spell that?
UFO.
No, I mean simultv.com.
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 Right. simultv.com.
Interesting that you were abducted by aliens in a simultv.com UFO last night.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Now that you mention it, I remember now last night I was awakened from a deep sleep. My great-grandmother was standing there. She said she'd come from the hereafter to tell me about simultv.com. She even spelled it out for me.
simultv.com, sonny boy.
simultv.com.
simultv.com, sonny boy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Guys, you'll never guess what my psychic guru just told me.
simultv.com.
Exactly. Are you guys psychic too?
Of course.
We all know about simultv.com. simultv.com.
And we are back on Paranormal Stakeout with my guest tonight, Dan DUCHENEAUX from Ghost Hunters of Ottawa for Scientific Truth. I did get that right, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
Okay, good. Want to talk a little bit about teams now. Your team, you've been together for a while. Your group, I understand, correct?
Yeah, there's been a lot of in and out kind of
Always
members
is.
here and there.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always like contradicting opinions, and eventually people just don't get along or see the same, don't see eye to eye. But yeah, through the years, there's been a lot of change. But I do have a very small team right now, which I kind of like it that way. There's less
Drama?
less drama. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Less drama.
How many are you aware of how many teams you might have in your area? And of course,
Oh, jeez.
I live in
there's so
South
many.
Florida, so it's hard to compare Canada with South Florida. But how many teams do you think?
There's so many. There's a lot of teams in the Toronto area. In Ottawa, I mean, I know quite a lot of few teams in Ottawa as well. A lot of them that I kind of associate with. There's COPS, which is a correctional officers
Mhm.
paranormal society. There is Dave from the Canadian Haunting and Paranormal Society. There is there used to be HOPS, but I don't think they're very active right now, which is Haunting Ontario Paranormal Society, Ottawa, or something like that. But they're not doing much. There's a bunch of different teams, and right now I've been associating with a lot of teams from the States, actually, including yourself. But yeah, there's a lot of teams in this area, and in Ottawa area and Toronto, especially Toronto area. There's quite a lot.
Why? That many people interested? Is there another
You know what it
motive or
is?
what?
I think it's
Tough to me.
Jason Hawes. Jason Hawes got this going. I think he got people's curiosity going with the paranormal. I mean, for me, it was the house I lived in, but I think I can't say that Jason Hawes and Ghost Hunters and Taps and all that stuff did not
Don't forget
influence-
Grant. Okay,
Grant Wilson.
Grant
Yeah.
Wilson.
I can't say that these people did not influence me. They're like the pioneers of the field. I mean, that's where it all started. And I think that's part of it as well. But I think what they did as well, they spurred this curiosity with people, and everybody wanted to know, okay, well, they're doing this and they're capturing evidence. Now I want to do it as well.
Mhm.
So I think that's what spurred it all on. That's why we have so many teams in the States and in Canada as well.
Do you think shows like that hurt the field, help the field?
No, I don't think of course with TV shows need ratings, right? I mean, if you actually do a TV show based on what we do really at an investigation, which is sit in the dark for hours and sometimes nothing ever happens.
Yes.
Do you think people are going to watch that? Probably not. So TV shows need ratings. Is it hurting the field? No. People need to realize
there wasn't a field really before it. There
wasn't.
But there were the folks that did it, but not like it is now.
Well, you have the Warrens. The Warrens were like,
exactly.
That's another where everything kind of started, but they weren't very on social media because they didn't exist at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But now with social media, I think that's what's spurring everything on, because we've got social media, we got Facebook, we got Twitter, we got TikTok, we got Instagram. So now it's just barreling out of control. And I think a lot of people are just getting on the bandwagon because there's a lot a lot of people are capturing evidence. So people are going, okay, well, they captured this, it's unexplainable, I want to get into it as well. So I think that's why there's so many teams now. It's social media is just spurring everything on.
Well, and I think it's a lot of folks in our field really take shots at the TV shows, and I think that somewhat
we
for
do.
good reason because it does get sensationalized. But I also
Yes, it
think it's
does.
brought it to the forefront. And probably the easiest way for me to describe it is when I first came on the job as a cop, you had an experience, you didn't talk about it.
Yeah.
You just didn't talk about it. It was frowned upon. Now agencies do talk about it. I love talking about Honolulu PD. They had a whole series of shows about the hauntings their officers experienced. So a lot of it has changed. So I think that's something that it's actually helped in some ways, but like everything else, too much of a good thing can be harmful.
Well, it
So,
was like the detective. Was it Searchy? Searchy had his own series. They made a movie out of it as well. Deliver Us from Evil was Dave Searchy. He did. He was a detective. I think it was in New York City, and he experienced a lot of paranormal events. And eventually, he got into exorcisms with the police, and then eventually had his own show. Which eventually kind of I stopped airing, but I mean he had his own show at one point. But he was a detective in New York City, and he started a show because he had so many experiences.
now see, I'm not aware of that. I'll have to look that one up. I'm
Yeah,
not
I
even
think
aware of
it's
that.
Dave Sarchie,
Okay.
Sarchie. I think you have to look it up online.
Yeah, I will do that.
Yeah.
So we've got all these teams out there now, varied reasons. Some of them, they maybe want to be the next Jason Hawes or Grant Wilson. I don't know.
We all
But
do. We all want to be the next Jason and Grant Williams, but Wilson, but
Wilson, yeah, don't get the
yeah,
name
not
wrong.
Williams. No.
But we're kind of stuck.
Yes.
Think about it for a second. We've not really enhanced what we do much in the last 20 years.
No.
For example, our equipment. What's your favorite piece of equipment?
I would say video and audio.
Okay.
I like EMF meters as well. I mean, there is a theory that when an entity is present, it can disrupt the field, and then that can be measured, right? But that has to be combined with another piece of evidence, either an audio evidence or video evidence, combined
Okay.
with an EMF spike. But I would say, as you know, I've been investigating now for 10, 15 years, into it for almost 20. I think there's only two pieces of equipment that really capture evidence. It's audio and video. All the rest are gadgets. They can help validate the video and audio evidence, but I think audio and video is the way to go. It's like I said, if something levitates in the air, that defies the laws of physics. If you have three people in a room in controlled environments and there's a fourth voice, that's evidence. So I think for me, it's video. My favorite piece of equipment would be video and audio. That's it. The rest is all extras.
Extras. That's interesting. So why do we put such an emphasis in it? I personally like, and I don't mind mentioning on the show, it's called an EDI Plus. It measures EMFs. It measures vibration. It measures temperature. It measures humidity. It measures barometric pressure. And I like that because when we get evidence at a certain time, you actually put an SD card in it and it charts it. You get a voice, and at the same time you get a voice, the temperature drops and the humidity changes or something like that. Putting all that together becomes evidence.
Yeah.
I guess what I'm getting at, and you're right, audio and video, you cannot beat that. Although there's a lot of folks that are trying to cheat with it nowadays. What are we going to do to get better with it? I mean, there's
you know what, Larry? Integrity.
Okay.
We have to be honest. We have to have integrity. I think, and when I do investigation, I think integrity is at the forefront of everything. You have to be honest yourself, honest to the people you're showing evidence to, because if you're not honest, you're not going to find true evidence, right? If you can debunk something, debunk it. If it's caused by natural things, then say it. I think honesty and integrity are going to be the ways to go. I mean, we just have, and like I said, there's a lot of teams, a lot of, because we have so many of them, and a lot of them will say, "Oh, there's an EMF spike. There's a ghost present." That doesn't mean
Yeah.
there's something present, right? So I think this is where we need to go, a little bit more our integrity, honesty, and a little bit more. How am I going to put this?
I'll say, I think training.
Well, training as well, and also being a little bit more kind of level-headed, going, okay, and not because one thing goes off, it means there's something present, right?
Well, and that's where the training angle of it comes in also.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of teams out there that they may be doing it right in their heart, but they don't know what they're doing. So that little spike they get excited about, well, they didn't notice there's a computer outlet the other side of that wall that's doing it. And that's where your point of level-headedness comes in, but also my point of training comes in, because I had an advantage. I was a criminal investigator. So I at least had a basis of conducting an investigation, but I had to learn a lot about the equipment on my own. And a lot of folks don't even know where to begin to look. They'll buy a piece of equipment on the internet, and they'll get it, and it makes cool noises and lights come on, but they don't know what that means.
Well, that's the point. Yeah.
And so but there's also the other angle that I want to talk about in the last few minutes of this segment, and that's the charlatans in our own field that are out there. And that's what worries me a little bit. Have you ever experienced a team that you would question their integrity? Don't mention any names, but have you experienced it?
Not really. I mean, there's some maybe inexperienced teams that I see by the way they perform investigations that they are inexperienced. Would I call them charlatans? No, I think I would call them inexperienced and a lack of training. I don't think they mean bad. I just think they're just not informed properly. But I don't think I've ever actually ran into somebody that's a charlatan. I don't think so. I don't think people want to be that way.
Okay. Then what about what harm an inexperienced team can do? What harm can they do, not only to the field, but to the people they're working with? Not necessarily their team, but we'll call them their clients. This has always been another issue of mine also. I worry about folks going in and saying, proclaiming there's an issue, or they've even solved an issue in a home, only to have it continue, or perhaps the people have other issues in their lives that are allowing them to manifest the events, and they think the problem is solved, but it's not, and the client gets harmed. Am I making sense? Do you see where I'm going with that?
No, I think you are. I think when teams go into, let's say, especially residential places where people are experiencing activity, you want an experienced team to go in there, because obviously the people in this house, and especially, and like anybody else, if there's kids involved, that's where it becomes more personal for every investigator, as far as I'm concerned. You want somebody experienced to go in there to give the right information to these people, not to give them the wrong information. And you know what? I don't think a lot of teams will go in there and say, we can get rid of it. No, you can't. We don't get rid of it. We just kind of go in and try to explain if it's something normal, or something that happens via, normal means, or is there something going on? Can we get rid of it? No, we can maybe tell people how to deal with it as best as possible, and they can follow whatever spiritual venue they want to deal with it. But I think we need, as investigators, to give the people the right information. And when inexperienced teams go in there, I think it may hurt the field to a certain extent, and actually hurt the people that these teams are investigating for.
Yeah, we have to be careful of that. And then once again, that's where training and experience comes into play. Well, we're just about out of time for this section here, but we got one more to go. Got a lot more questions to ask you, my friends, so stay tuned. And you folks, stay with us also. We'll be back in just a few minutes after this break with my guest, Dan DUCHENEAUX of G.H.O.S.T. Welcome back to Paranormal Stakeout with my guest tonight,
Mhm.
Dan DUCHENEAUX of Ghost from Ottawa, Canada, speaking from two different polar opposites of the continent up here, way up north and way down south.
Hot and
So
cold.
hot and
Hot and
cold.
cold. Hot and cold.
Well, folks, I want to remind you that if you want to check out my organization, the Florida Bureau of Paranormal Investigation or Indian River Hauntings, so you can check me out at paranormalfbi.com or indianriverhauntings.com. If you're ever down in the Vero Beach area, we do take some time to take folks on a historical ghost tour of our area. So check me out for that too on indianriverhauntings.com. You can get a hold of us also on Facebook as well as our YouTube channel. You can see some of our investigations at indianriverhauntings.com. And also, don't forget, if you got questions or thoughts you want to share on the show, Ghost Guy at paranormalstakeout.org is the place to get a hold of us. And Dan, how can folks get a hold of you if they want to learn more about your organization and what you do?
Well, they can visit our Facebook page, which is on at ghost-canada.com or at Ghost Canada, I think, on Facebook. We also have our YouTube channel, which I'm not really sure what the if you just look at Ghost Hunters of Ottawa Scientific Truth on YouTube, we have a YouTube channel as well. We do have a website, which kind of we don't really use that much. We do have an Instagram, which is there as well, and also a TikTok. But the two platforms, probably Facebook and YouTube, are the two best ones to get a hold of us.
Good. All right. Terrific. Now, up there in Canada, I'm a big history guy, and I firmly believe that a lot of what we do, we need to verify through our historical research. So being up there in Canada, your area, do you think that the history that surrounds your area influences or enhances the activity you have? Does that make
Oh God, history doesn't have Canada history. I don't know. Um, yeah, it's a possibility, I guess. I mean, we do have a lot of historical places, a lot of history as well. We've investigated, like, I mean, I've investigated a lot of historical sites
Mhm.
where we've captured a fair amount of unexplainable evidence. So, yeah, we do. I mean, I think that plays a role as well. Some of our history as well. I mean, I think with any location, any place in the world, I think history plays a big role.
It does, and a lot of one thing I'll mention, a lot of folks tend to spend time thinking that paranormal activity is the result of a building, but oftentimes it's the land itself and what has
Yeah,
occurred there in the past. So
yeah,
that's where history
correct.
comes into play. Want to turn back for a couple seconds to talk about the television issue, and a lot of folks in our field get the opportunity to maybe get on television, maybe do things deliberately to get on there, and those are the ones I think that usually do fail when they do it just for that reason.
Yeah.
Um, you've had the opportunity on some occasions to do the TV gig.
Yeah, I have. I was on, I think my first one was a French paranormal show, which was, I did an interview with a paranormal investigator. He's well known in the French kind of, the French paranormal kind of groups.
Mhm.
But geez, I can't remember his name though. But it was on. I did an interview with him in the Diefenbaker bunker in Ontario, and it was based on the Dag poltergeist. So we did a little bit of an interview on that. So I was on a French the French paranormal show, and I was also on my paranormal nightmare. Which is, I think you can probably find some of the episodes on YouTube. I think I was on maybe 4 or 5 episodes as a paranormal consultant based on the cases that they were showing on the show, and to get my I guess professional opinion on what I thought these people might have experienced. And I've done a recent one which I really can't share too much about, but
Mhm.
this involved a trip in Los Angeles, California, in the Hollywood Hills.
Interesting. Now, there. I mean, you're right. Everybody desires that 15 minutes, whether they admit it or not. Everybody desires it at some level.
Yeah.
Few people really get to experience it. What was your experience with that? I'd like folks to hear this so an actual honest idea of what it's like.
Well, I mean, number one, I have to say that I feel privileged to have had the chance to appear on these shows. That people actually looked at me as a consultant and wanted me to share my experiences. Um, It's a great experience. It makes you feel very special. They do treat you very well. They treat you like a king. You feel like a superstar for that specific amount of time you're on the show, and it is a great experience. I can't deny it. It's almost to the point of being addictive. Like when I went to LA and I did this last kind of filming, it was like addictive. It's like I want to do it again. So, but they treat you well. They treat you well. I mean, definitely you feel like a king. You feel like they're rolling out the red carpet for you. They treat you like it's respect. Respect. Really, it is. It's a great experience.
So they believed you. I mean, because I've kind of gotten the impression that you'll get out there and they're really trying to sell a product, and they really don't have an interest in the field. It's just a product to them. You didn't feel that at all.
Well, I mean, like any TV show, they have to sell ratings as well, right? So it's just the way that's the way TV works. It's the way Hollywood works. It's the way it is. And I mean, I think everybody knows that. There's so many movies and shows that are based on true events, but eventually they are embellished. And I think what my experience in the last filming I've done, like I said, I can't really share too much evidence or information because it hasn't
Right.
come out yet. But I think I know for a fact stuff will get embellished, and it's just the way it is. But I mean, the experience itself is very good. It's a very satisfying experience.
Well, and I think you just brought up a good point there. And my very, very limited connection to all of it, I do know that if you have a personal event that happened to you, or something happened to you that they're wanting to film, and once you sign the rights over or you agree to be on the show, you basically give the producers permission to do what they want with the story, and that could be to change it or alter it significantly from what really happened to you. Um, do you feel that is that something that you sign up for and you just accept it? Or do you feel like, wait a minute, you can't mess with my story? Uh,
Well, I think the core of the story is there, and I know that.
mhm.
And I'm sure whenever this comes out, I'll know that the core is there. I'll associate with it. I mean, it's going to explain the basics of it. And I do understand it. Yeah, with TV and stuff, things need to be embellished a little bit for entertainment. But I think I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. I mean, I know for a fact, at least the story that I had is being shared. I know
Mhm.
for a fact that the core facts are there, and as long as people enjoy it and realize that you have to realize that it is TV, and it does get embellished. Look at
Mhm.
the core story, that what's being presented, and that it's being embellished. Of course, we all know that, but
It's TV. Yeah.
it's TV. It's what it is. I mean, we can't change that. I mean, it's TV,
Yeah.
it's Hollywood. Can't change it.
Yeah, and I agree. And that's frankly, I'm not a big fan of cop shows because I can't even begin to tell you how many times over the years, well, they solved this case
That's
in an
not the
hour.
way they do it.
That's not the
That's
way
not
to.
the way they do it.
Yeah, I know. You said drive me insane. But I think it's important that folks do hear what that experience is like.
Mhm.
Uh, Obviously, that's a one shot in a million. So if you're going to get into this field, folks, with that as your motive, do something else because
Yeah, you can't have the motive that you're doing the paranormal investigations to get into TV and stuff like that, because I'm not going to say it's all untrue. It is based on a lot of true events and maybe some true facts, but of course it's embellished for ratings and for entertainment. But you can't get into the paranormal if that's all you want, because that's not the point. The point is to find concrete evidence. And face it, Larry, what
the
we
truth.
do, yeah, truth, integrity, like we talked about earlier. I mean, what we do is not what you see on the TV shows. What we do is long hours of sitting in the dark waiting for something to happen. And 90, like I said, in 10-15 years of investigating, I've only caught two really good pieces of video evidence in 15 years.
That's the reality of it all. You're
That's
right.
the reality of it. And yeah, you could probably build a whole show on those two pieces of evidence, and you could probably embellish it, make it look really good. But really what we do is not what you see on TV. What we do is it's long hours.
Boring.
It's yeah, it can be boring as well. And yeah,
Yeah.
you don't capture stuff all the time.
Uh,
And that's not what TV is. TV is about entertaining, and yeah,
yeah.
they'll use some of the actual facts and events to use as a base to make a show out of it, but it's based on ratings,
Yep, it absolutely is,
unfortunately.
and that's what folks have to understand. Well, I appreciate your input on that. So
Yep.
tell me, Dan, what does the future hold for Dan Ducheneaux and Ghost? What what's the future hold for you guys?
I'm gonna be a superstar on TV. No, I'm kidding.
Okay.
Like,
Okay.
no. I don't know, Larry. I think things will get better. I think as long as people are educated, and I think what we're doing right now, what you're doing, what we do and we're not professionals. We're people with integrity, people that want the truth. You want the truth. I want to be honest. You want to be honest. We want people to know what we do. And I think that's the way to go. And I think eventually people are going to fall on that bandwagon and eventually know that this is the way we're going to find truth, is by having good integrity, being honest, being informed, and being educated, and have proper training in order to do proper investigations. I think
How
that's the way the field's going to go eventually. I hope so, anyways.
that's what I'm hoping too. But how do we train everybody? How do we
Well,
how do we come up
it's
with some type of standardizations that we at least
I
have,
think
we're all
I
working
think
off the same page?
I think what you do with Indian River hauntings, I think that's one of them. You tell people, you show them what we do, you show them how you investigate, you give them the proper information, the proper training. We do public investigations as well, which with public investigations you can never capture real evidence because there's so much contamination, but people see how we investigate. I'm not saying we're the best. I mean, I don't think there's a single team in the world that's the
Mm,
best investigator, but I think there are, and I have to be honest, there are good teams and there are bad teams.
just
And
like
I
in any
think
profession.
yes, and I think the good teams, like, and I consider my team a good team, and I consider your team a good team. I think as good teams, we need to educate people properly, and that's the way the field's going to advance, by educating people, by training them, by making sure that they know how to debunk, they know how to, how an EMF meter works, how to debunk evidence. I think that's the way the field's going to progress, and I think that's the way we should be going.
And how to talk to people.
Exactly,
We've lost that ability to
exactly.
talk. So, well,
Yeah.
Dan, we're about out of time, but I want to tell you, I really appreciate you being on. I'm
Yes.
sure folks were really enjoyed some of the things you had to say. So, I'll look
Hope
forward
so.
to the next time we get together. So,
Yes.
and,
Yes. We'll
and
talk soon, Larry, and thanks so much for having me on the show.
you bet. And thank you, folks, for joining us tonight on Paranormal Stakeout. Please stay safe, be careful, and we'll see you on the other side. Have a good night.